Brandon Johnson.
Sedarian Crawford.
It's good to see you, man.
Hey, it's good to see you too, man.
Thank you, man. So thank you for allowing us to use your wife for the time that we had her, Mrs. Princess Nadia, as she likes to be called. Thank you for allowing us to use her.
Absolutely.
And her gifts and talents for the film. But now we're on to you and the role that you played.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So you were tasked with putting together a Bible study for the film, for people to be able to have some serious dialogue about what it is that they experienced after watching the film. And I appreciate it because, the Bible study is going to give people an opportunity to begin some tough conversation. And I know sometimes in a household, these are things that we want to talk about, but sometimes we just don't know how to start the conversation. So you have given us the opportunity to be able to ease into some of these difficult conversations. So definitely want to tell you thank you for that.
Hey, man, it's my honor to be able to do it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Cool, man. So how did the film kind of guide the Bible study? Were you able to use it, or did you kind of have to make up some stuff and put some stuff together?
I didn't have to make anything up. The film definitely spoke volumes to me. Even before I was asked to do the Bible study, it was something that really, when I got to read the script and got to kind of see what was going on behind the scenes and everything, it just, for me, it was inspiring. And the first thing I thought about, and this is pretty much what the entire Bible study was about, which was pride. And Proverbs 16:18 says, pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit before the fall. And, for me, Pastor Thomas in the film, that was him. It fit exactly with what he was going through, and the arrogance that he had the whole time in the film. And, it just really pulled everything together for me. And it was easy for me to come up with the Bible study itself.
Okay. You mentioned pride, and I think you're right. I think him and a few other characters, maybe on both sides, the antagonist and the protagonist, some of them have some prideful elements. Why do you think pride plays such a huge role in man's downfall?
That's a great question. That's a really, really good question, Sedarian Crawford. No, so I would say, realistically, pride is the root cause of the majority of our sin. It is when man says, I know more than God. It's when man says, I'm going to use my own moral code in order to excuse whatever type of behavior that it is that I want to have, whatever it is that I want to do. And it's something that a lot of us kind of fall into. Some of us not necessarily realizing that we're exalting ourselves above God whenever we fall into that, but at the same time, it's something that the deeper we get into the Word, the deeper we get into prayer, and the closer the relationship we get to God, the more we should want to kind of emulate His moral code and His standards over our own. But pride is when we flip that.
Yeah, and I like the way you just put that, because what I would say, based on what you're saying, is, by definition, if we could coin our own definition, pride is the replacement of God's moral compass with our own.
That's good, man. You got a pen. It's pretty good.
I like that, man. That's good. That's good. And
that is good.
And you are a minister of the Word yourself. What church is it?
Impact Church.
Impact Church, okay.
Regency Campus, 8, 10, and 12 o'clock. We have services.
8, 10,
feel free
and
to join
12
us.
o'clock. Feel free to join.
Jacksonville.
Impact Church, Jacksonville, Florida. I don't mind the plug.
It's cool, man. It's cool. You can delete all that. It's fine. Cut it off.
Cool, man. So, as a minister, do you identify with any of the characters?
Oh, absolutely. I've been both Pastor Thomas and I've also been Jessica. So I've been that person who has been presented with certain situations and felt like, the only way out of this situation is for me to do the wrong thing in order for me to end up, somehow doing the right thing, the overlying right thing, something that, clearly God wouldn't approve of, but something that kind of, just in and of myself, I feel like I can make this happen if I just take it upon myself to do this.
Yeah, like sounds like, doing the wrong thing for the right reason.
Right, right. And it's one of those things where we think about that, right? Everybody says that you do the wrong thing for the right reason, and we feel like, oh, it's for the greater good.
Right.
But in reality, man, a lot of times when we're trying to do those certain things, there are other ways to accomplish our goals. There are other ways to fix certain situations, and a lot of times it's more so because we are arrogant in and of ourselves. We don't want to ask for help of other people. We don't want to seek God in certain situations. We don't want to pray about things. We just need them to happen right away.
Right. Okay.
And I've been guilty of that. Absolutely, 100%. That's why it was so easy for me to do this Bible study. I've been guilty of it myself. I've been that guy, and I've been Jessica as well, where I was influenced to end up doing the wrong thing. So I've been on both sides of that coin. So I definitely did relate to the characters in that regard. And I think most of us, I think, can.
So good. When you are, writing the Bible study and you have to take this fictitious script and marry it to this very real, true to life Bible that we strive to follow to the best of our ability as Christians, what would you say was the most difficult part about writing the Bible study?
Well, as far as the most difficult part of doing it, it's always going to be trying to, I guess, relate God's standard to people who have our fallen nature.
Wow, that's good.
Right. So it's always going to be, hey, we all need to do better, but this is God's standard, and maybe we won't ever get to meet that, until we're up there with Him, celebrating in eternity with Him. And so it's every time you're doing any kind of a message. I work with the youth at my church, and anytime you're doing a message, it's very difficult to take these ancient, real stories, narratives, and standards, and put them with ourselves today. But the fact is, it is us. We are Samson, we are Adam and Eve, we are Paul. We're all of these biblical characters, and everything that we read in the Bible, it does actually, we are them. The Bible does not pull any punches. It doesn't at one point say, this person was the perfect, wonderful, exalted, beautiful guy. I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine about David. He couldn't believe that David saw this woman Bathsheba and
had his way with
her, killed her husband in order to get with her and everything. And it's like, how could they put this in this holy book? And it's like, because that's real life. That happened. And, that's how this book is real. It's like they don't pull any punches, and this is the actual human condition. So, it's difficult sometimes to hold a magnifying glass to that.
Of course.
It's hard to hold a mirror to ourselves when we're looking at the behavior that we're supposed to have, the way we're supposed to think about things. So that's always the challenge whenever you're trying to do a Bible study or a message.
Yeah. I had a professor in college, Deborah Martin, who used to say in theater, she would say, theater is the mirror that we hold up to society to reveal to themselves who they really are.
That's good. I'm gonna need another pen and pad. I should have brought that. That's my fault.
And I think no. And I think that's what you're saying about the film and about the Bible. These are two resources who with all intents and purposes have the responsibility of showing society what it looks like, and then us as believers, as Christians, trying to do our best to, as you said, reach the standard that is set so high above where we are, but understanding at the same time there was a sacrifice made, because we know we cannot reach the standard that was set before us, and being grateful for
Absolutely.
that sacrifice. So one last question before we let you go. What is it that you hope families will take from this film?
Another awesome question, Sedarian Crawford. So I think everybody, upon seeing this film, needs to understand, no matter how far away from God you've gotten, no matter how bad you think your situation is, no matter how far you've walked away from Him and His presence and His word and everything, you've never gone far enough to not be able to return to Him.
Wow.
So for somebody who does make that wrong decision, for somebody who does, decide to go out and do the wrong thing, once you realize that error, once you get to that dark place, and because a lot of times, this is talked about in the Bible study, you inevitably end up there. When you use your own way, when you walk your own way, when you use your own moral code, when you have your own sets of laws and practices and everything, you are inevitably going to get to a dark place, because it is a place where God is not going to follow you, because you're not worried about being in a relationship with Him. So I need everybody to understand that no matter how far you've gone, that is exactly why Jesus came. That's exactly what it was for, the sacrifice that He made. And we all have the ability to be reconciled to God through Him. So that is the takeaway I think everybody needs to have with this film.
That's good. That's good. I was, as you were talking, it reminded me, that when you talk about this dark space, this dark place, it's almost like, the minute you decide to, as you said, come out of that dark place, on the outer rims of that dark place, He is there waiting.
Absolutely.
That's
Never
beautiful.
left.
That's
Never
beautiful.
left.
That's
Arms
beautiful.
wide open.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Brandon, for your time in putting the Bible study together. I cannot wait for churches and people to get their hands on it and just allow it to do everything that you just said.
Amen.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Amen. Take care of yourself.
Absolutely.